Welcome back. A lot of you probably don't need to draw a pixel art button, so I appreciate you watching this video. So I'm one of the homies working on Dwerve. It's a tower defense dungeon crawler RPG. We're doing Kickstarter pretty soon, and I'd appreciate it if you guys added, wishlisted this. Yeah. Okay, so first thing you'll want to do is download some pixel fonts. Just go ahead and search pixel fonts in Google, and there's a bunch to choose from, but something you might want to look for is make sure that they are free for commercial use, if you're going to use them in a game or a project, you know? Alright, so then we're going to go to Pinterest, and we're going to search buttons. Okay, not buttons, UI buttons. And here you can find some inspiration for UI buttons. This is pretty good right here. By the way, feel free to follow me on Pinterest. I already created a bunch of boards like Game UI. So the reason why I'm recommending Pinterest is because I know a lot of people that save stuff on their computer, and that's just not the best way to do it. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is create text. So if you're in Aseprite, in the description there's a link to get it on Humble if you want to support me and get it through there. Anyway, it's only like 15 bucks. So you can go to Edit and then Insert Text. And here I already selected the font that I downloaded, the FF Forward. And I'm just gonna pick white as the color and click OK. Actually, I'm gonna change the font size to something a little bit smaller. I'm thinking something like 6. Aseprite isn't the best for font because you can't really preview it before you do it, and now I can't change the font size. You know, I can scale this, but Photoshop's a little bit better with fonts, but you know. Anyway, so I go back to insert text and then maybe do a size like 8. Okay, 8 looks good. So I'm gonna go ahead and stick with this. You can hit Control D to deselect, or maybe I made that my shortcut. But anyway, make sure that you put your text on a separate layer. You're not gonna want to draw. You're not gonna want the text on the same layer as your button. So let me just show you a couple of really cool things you can do with text really fast. So when you have some text, what you can do is you can add an effect, FX called outline. And here, let's say we wanted black or something like that. You can add an outline and then choose, you know, where you want that outline to be. So maybe we just want it to be on the bottom like that, or maybe we want it to be on the inside. I think this is a pretty cool effect. But for buttons in general, I don't like to make the text 3D on the button. I like to make the button the thing that's 3D. So I'm not gonna do an outline for the text, but I did want to show you that because it's a neat way to make your text have a little more pizzazz. I'm sorry, I just realized the mic wasn't by my face. But hey, at least the rest of the video will have good audio. No, I'm not gonna redo the beginning. We're just gonna keep going. Okay, so another cool little effect that you can do is if you grab your selection tool and you select like a chunk of the text, and then you switch to your paint bucket, you can paint that section and give it a highlight. But when you do paint, make sure contiguous is not selected, because check it out. If you select contiguous, it'll work as you expect, and you'll have to, you know, click in each one of those sections. But when you don't have contiguous checked off, it'll color everything of that color, which is actually a really good trick. It might have clicked in your head right now. It's a really good trick when you want to basically replace a color in your artwork that you have all over the place. All right, let's start drawing this button. So I picked the yellow, and I'm just going to go ahead and make a rectangle, a filled rectangle, and I'm gonna give the text some padding. Probably just 2 pixels should do. We can adjust that later. Now I'm gonna go over some concepts that make for a good button. We don't really need the text here. So there's a couple things I want to let you know. A button in a video game is meant to look like something that you can press, right? And to look like something that you can press, it needs to look 3D. You could just go for a Metro style, and this right here, done. We could be like, this is a done button, right? But there's nothing about this art that indicates that it's a button. At the bare minimum, I would recommend doing a shadow, because a shadow makes sure that the user knows that let me go ahead and add a shadow. So I picked this mirror tool, and this is going to mirror everything I draw on one side to the other. I'm probably not right. Oh, wow, I got right in the middle. So I'm just going to go ahead and on the button, I'm going to erase the corners. And then of course for the shadow, I'm going to erase those as well. As you can see, this already is starting to look like a button just because we added that shadow. But I like to make the buttons look 3D as well, because that also emphasizes that it's a button. I like to put outlines on my buttons too. So first thing I'm going to do is put an outline on this button. Oops, wrong layer. There we go. This right here will make it obviously stand out more. It does look like it needs more padding around the word play. Alright, whatever. But in general, buttons usually look better if you increase the padding around the text. So I do actually think that this looks better. I'm going to round the edges now, and okay, so I made the edges a little bit rounder. I think I want to smooth out that roundness, so bear with me while I try this. That does look smoother, yeah. When you're trying to make a smooth edge, you never want to go 1 2 1 1 2. This will always look really weird. You want to make sure that you go down numbers, so you can go 3 2 1 2 3, and that'll give you a really nice curve. Just a tip in case you didn't know. My eyes feel so dry. Alright, let's get back to it. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is add a shadow down here. I'm going to just choose, with Alt you can color pick. I think it's Alt in Photoshop as well. But anyway, I'm just going to go darker and put the highlight on the bottom. And if you look up here, it looks pretty good already. You don't have to, but I kind of like to also put the shadow on the edge. And then at the top, what you can do is you can put a highlight at the top. So we're going to pick the color and not only go brighter. Brighter will look good, but not only do we want to go brighter, but we'll also want to probably go lighter. And I actually like to do highlights on my highlights. So I went almost white here, and in the middle, I'm just going to drag. And then to create sort of like a fade effect, I'm going to skip a pixel and put a dot. And this is a really nice little effect that makes it look a little bit more like a glare. I'm actually probably going to go all the way to white. There we go. And now it looks like it has a shine at the top. Maybe another good spot for a shine would be on the edges. But basically, if you want to add shines, you just need to add white lines and add these little dots, or you can fade it out. But I'm not gonna worry about fading it out. To make the button look even thicker, what I like to do, and a lot of button graphics have, is they have a thicker side on the bottom. Because if you imagine, let me grab this coaster here. I got this bread coaster. But if you imagine the button straight from the front, you can't see the sides at all, right? So you can't tell it's 3D. The only way you can tell an object is 3D is if you see it from, if you see a side of the object. And as you can tell, you can't see the side at the top. You can only see the side on the bottom. And the more that we tilt this, the bigger this side will be. So to make a button seem more 3D, all you need to do is really make the bottom part or one of the sides thicker. And we're gonna choose the bottom. So yeah, there we go. I think that's all we really need to do right here to give it more of a 3D look. So instead of just going darker like we did here, also hue shift. So if I hue shift towards red, oops, I need to turn on contiguous on. You can see that the button has more character to it. And we can do the same thing at the top. Instead of just yellow, I can hue shift towards green. Oh my gosh, wrong layer. Alright, there we go. So I hue shifted towards green. I'm going to try even more. And I think that's kind of a cool look. The top is green and the top is hue shifted towards green and the bottom is hue shifted towards red. But it just makes the button look like it's more interesting. Let me show you guys another example of this. This button, I'm going to make it sort of like a bluish green. And on the bottom here, you might expect it to be darker, but you can also go with a lighter color. And check this out, the button looks kind of like it has a glow on it from underneath. It's a cool little effect that you can add. So you don't always have to go darker on the bottom. So for example, this button right here, I could actually go pretty bright red and it would still look pretty cool. And near the top, I could maybe even do light blue. I mean, you gotta do a little bit of color theory for this to look great. But I think this button right here, the colors match pretty well. So I really quickly here just drew a little, play icon. You don't always have to have the word play. Actually, for like mobile games, I try to avoid text because you don't need to, because for other languages, you don't need to translate it if you have universal icons like the play button. Maybe we could add a shadow to this. Let me get my line tool out. Maybe a highlight like that. I think that's good enough. You don't need to do too much detail for something that's an icon. Okay, so I got another effect to show you guys. It's a highlight. So I'm gonna pick the color basically in the middle, and I went a little bit brighter. And I'm just gonna go across about halfway and make that part brighter. This is a cool little effect for highlight for buttons. Usually though, you don't want to go too low, and a lot of buttons, and I see this effect done a lot of times actually, where it's only near the top, which is also how I like it. I like to put it near the top only. Let's make that even. Yeah, there we go. So now this highlight is near the top. And to make it look like the button has even more detail, what you can do is remove that highlight from the edge, and it makes it look like it has a bit of a bend. I don't know if you see that there, but it's a cool little effect. For the sake of these buttons not being completely the same, I'm just going to change the colors there a little bit. I don't like how saturated the highlight is. A common mistake that you'll make is usually oversaturating highlights. Highlights often, it's often noticeable when a highlight is oversaturated. So usually if your highlight looks odd, probably the mistake is you want to desaturate it. So you'll want to go left over here in the color box or whatever this thing's called. To see what the colors look like, different colors look like, what you can do is go to adjustments, hue and saturation, and then just slide the hue around and you can get some pretty cool looking buttons. Let me pick one. Yeah, there we go. I'm gonna up to saturation, and then I think this yellow needs to be a lot brighter. So let me select this yellow, make it a lot brighter, and then I'm gonna uncheck contiguous so that way I can just update it all over the place. Boom. Okay, so let me show you another cool effect you can do. You can pick a bright color and just add a bevel near the edge. You see what we're doing there? And you could go all the way around, or just like I did. But for example, I'll select this color and I'll go brighter. Wait, did I go brighter? And I'll go brighter, and oh, actually for this I should go darker if we want it to look like it's embossed. I think that's the word. So now you can tell, I mean, this icon now needs to shrink because it needs padding. But you see what effect we did with this button, right? It looks like it's a little bit indented. I don't really like the green highlight at the top though. Since we used this blue for the highlight near the bottom, it would probably look good at the top. Yeah, I think it does. Let's make that even brighter. Now I updated both of those, and check it out, it looks pretty good. It looks like we are missing the bevel on the sides though. So let me just turn on my mirror tool. Am I in the middle? Yes. Man, I'm good at eyeball in the middle. So I think we need to do this. And then maybe, whatever, yeah. This is a really low res button, but you can imagine if this button was higher resolution, you would make it look better. The bevel would look even better. But yeah, there we go. That one is beveled. I don't really think the bevel seeing the side looks good with the bevel. So I'm gonna get rid of the graphic on the side, and I think that this looks better. It's more of a square button, but whatever. Sometimes you gotta make them sacrifices. All right, so now let's start from scratch and just try to make a super duper looking cool button. Okay, so I'm gonna start just by drawing the button rectangle. Right? Let's do that. And then what I'll do after that is lift my beanie up a little bit. So I'm just gonna grab this blue and go darker. I'll just go darker. Let's drag this across. I'm gonna make a nice fat one. Two. Actually, man. How much of it should we put on the edge, right? I'm thinking. Oops. I'm thinking we have just like a really thin edge. You know what? Screw it. Let's add a tiny little highlight all around. All right, so this might have been too tall, but we need to smooth this. Does that look right? I think that looks right. All right? No, that's better. That's a fat button. We made a fat old button. I still want to give it a black outline though. So don't put your black outline here and here. No, that's a mistake. You only want your black outline to actually be an outline. So the quickest way that we can give this button an outline is the same way that we did for the text. You go to Effects, Outline, and boom. Bada bing, bada boom. There it is. All right, and then hit OK. There we go. Now we got our outline for our button. All right, this is pretty good, but I do think we should maybe make this a little bit darker. And then, you know, let's try hue shifting it a little bit towards blue. That might be too much. Something like that looks nice. And then something I haven't showed you guys yet is doing a highlight near the bottom. So I'm gonna go and make this a lot brighter. Let's put this tool back. Oh, ooh. All right, there. Yeah. And boom, I put a highlight near the bottom, and it makes the button look juicy. I think we should make it even brighter. So let's go here, brighten it up. Let me turn off contiguous. Boom. Whoa, that's not brighter. we want to desaturate it, and desaturating it will make it look brighter. Ooh, dang! Look at that button. The top part isn't the same as the side, but I actually kind of like it. Let's check it out. Does that look better? Or that? That kind of looks better. Yeah. So I'm gonna leave the top the color that it is. Now I could add a highlight at the top. Oh my gosh! I could add a highlight at the, oh my god! I could add a highlight up here too, but it just starts looking weird. You kind of have to pick whether you're gonna put a highlight near the top or the bottom. And in this case, I'm gonna put it near the bottom. But I'm still gonna do that inner highlight. So I'm just gonna go ahead and grab this middle color and go a little bit brighter, and then not go all the way to the edge, but pretty close, and do a little one of these. Do one of these here. And oh my gosh, select contiguous, and yeah, check it out. I don't think it's bright enough, so I'm gonna brighten it up a little bit. That's pretty nice. Maybe even smaller. I'm gonna keep going smaller and just look at the top and see what it looks like. And maybe something something that small looks pretty good. And I like this button a lot. Now to transition this a little bit better, you've probably seen this all the time, but in the corner, so I can select this black, go about halfway to the alpha, and then if I click here, this is a transition, basically a transition color. I think it's a little too dark, so I'm gonna decrease the alpha on that black even more. And then I can color pick this color, and basically I'm just putting this between the black and the blue to sort of make it blend. Yeah, that's the word, to make it blend better. And you can even add that in other areas as well. I'm just trying it, you know. I'm putting it here, but it's putting too much emphasis on this highlight. It's creating too much contrast and making it almost look like this is sticking out. Like it almost looks like the highlight has a shadow. So I'm gonna remove it from there. We don't need it there. And now these edges could be darker as well. So I could pull all the way up here, and that looks pretty good. And maybe we can even transition the side. So what I'm doing here is creating a transition to the edge, so that the edge looks darker. Oh my god. Okay, so that's pretty good. Let me decrease the alpha for that. You know, make it blend a little bit better. Okay, I think that's pretty good. That's a nice transition. I don't think this is actually dark enough, so I'm going to make it a little darker, maybe even a little darker. There we go. Now it looks like there's a nice gradient. I think this last one probably needs to be a little bit brighter. I can keep going over it because the alpha is so low that if you keep drawing over it, you're making it lighter or darker. So it's a nice way to kind of pick the right color too. I don't do too many gradients when I do pixel art, but I mean, come on, if you want your button to look super pro, you might want to do something like this. And I'm going to take this color, this really nice light color, and actually put it on the bottom here as well. Maybe the darker one would look better down there. Yes, I think the darker one looks better. And maybe just put that right there for a nice little transition. And I don't know if it's subtle on your screen. On my screen, I can see it. We can increase the contrast later if it's not noticeable. But there's a nice transition now here from the darkness of the side to the color we have at the bottom. So far, looking good. I'm not sure what else we could do except maybe add a couple of highlights. So we're gonna go all the way white, and maybe in this bottom corner here, we're going to just add a little highlight. So it looks like it's like gleaming a little bit. Oops, we do need to turn off the mirror tool here because we don't want the highlight to be on both sides. Maybe you do, maybe that's a look you like, but I think it looks more natural if it's not exactly the same on both sides. So here I did a highlight in the bottom left corner, and I'm gonna do another highlight in the top right corner. This time I probably won't use white because it'll be a little bit, the contrast will be a little too high. So I'm going to use basically this light blue we used for the highlight near the bottom. So I'm just adding a highlight near the top right now, and let's see what that looks like. Remember, the reason I'm doing these dots is I think it's kind of a neat way to do a transition. So there we go. We have a highlight near the bottom left and the top right. I do think we actually need this to go brighter. So I'm going to add a little bit of white in here. Maybe not too much. I don't like that this is a corner here, because if I color that in, actually it looks fine. So there we go. We added a little highlight to the top right and the bottom left, and it makes the button look a lot more reflective, which is a nice little effect. I might want to even do a little bit of that in this corner. Let me just see what that looks like. Yeah, I think I like it, a little bit of that in that corner, and I think I'll do a little bit of a white highlight down here in this corner as well. Maybe something like that. And now the button looks nice and reflective, and it's just that little extra that makes the button look juicy. I do think the contrast between these colors is a little too high, so I'm going to go to like 50% and color this in, and then we'll use that as to transition the color out a little bit better. There, I think that's pretty good. Maybe add a little highlight up here. No, it's starting to look too messy. Gotta be careful. Don't want it to look too messy. But I think this button is almost done, right? You don't want to add too much because then it will get too messy. Maybe the highlight now in the middle. Maybe this needs we need to move the padding. So I'm just gonna go ahead, and because of the highlight, it got rid of the padding that we had. So I'm just gonna go ahead and maybe re-add that in. Let me see what that looks like. Maybe this top line doesn't need to. Yeah, I think that top line needs to stay there. But something like this, there we go. Something like that looks pretty darn good. So I like this button, but you might not want it to be super clean. So I'm just gonna make a new layer here, and this one will be just to show you a couple of cool little things that you can do. So it is really clean, but maybe if we want it to look damaged, or you want it to look like wood, you can always go in and add these textures. So maybe I want to do something like like this to make let's say you have like a button that's made of wood or stone, you'll just go in and add a couple of these details in, and it'll make your button have a little bit more personality. Now it looks like it's damaged. But yeah, there's a ton of little cool effects you can do like that. And let's say I wanted the button to have a lot more design in it, right? So I'm just gonna take this button and really quickly hue shift it, just so it feels like a different button. Wow, pardon me. Some of these are beautiful. Look at that green button. I love it. But let's go towards like a pink button. Yeah, and then decrease saturation. There we go. And like, let's say you wanted this button to look like really cute or something, right? So you want to add some cute designs in it. Let me show you how to do some of that. You think I guessed the middle again? I've been pretty good at this. Yes, I did. Oh my gosh, I'm just eyeballing the middle. So what we can do is we could add some what's it called? Starts with the F. I gotta look it up. Flourish. We can add some flourishes. So if you search flourish, it'll give you ideas for all these cool little flourishes. And look, if I search flourish button, I wonder if it'll be a real button. It is. UI button. Flourish UI button. Then you can see those aren't flourishes. Okay, this one kind of has. This one has a couple of flourishes, but you can add these flourishes to your buttons. Basically, all of these are flourishes, and it'll make it look really cool. Wow, these are pretty inspirational. But this is kind of what I had in mind. Darn, this is gonna make the one I draw look bad. Okay, so. But really quickly, I mean, let me show you how you could do a flourish. But you can even make this look 3D. So check it out. If I go darker and I pull this across, now even this rim looks 3D, and you can even give the rim a highlight too. So if this is like metal, let's say you were trying to go for like some royal look, you can add a highlight to this too. Now it looks like shiny metal around the button. I mean, this is a pretty shiny button already, so maybe we don't want it to shine that much. If I did yellow, it might look really good too. Let me go to yellow and make this shine yellow. Yeah, now it looks like gold. Now it looks like a nice gold shine. You'd probably want to transition that a little bit better. So I'm just gonna do that thing I was telling you guys about, where you select the color, go to like 50%, and then draw over the other one. This still doesn't look okay. There, whatever. Now it's transitioning a little bit better. But boom, it looks like a nice gold highlight. We could do it all the way around, but actually, if you want this to look 3D, what you want to do is not draw it near the top. So now it looks like the button is almost like sitting inside of this. There's look, you see how I ended it exactly at the height of the button? That feels too coincidental, and it doesn't look that good. And it doesn't make the silhouette. Doesn't make the silhouette look as interesting. So if I end it sooner, you see it makes the silhouette look more interesting to end it sooner. So I'm gonna end it even sooner, like right here, and there. Now the button. Now the silhouette of the button looks a lot more interesting than when I took it to the top. All right, so we got a nice frame there for our button, and let's add a flourish. So somewhere over here, I'm not exactly sure where the middle is, maybe like here. I'm gonna add maybe a little gem is gonna stick out. Okay, I think that's pretty good. And bada bing, bada boom, I think we're done. Oh, one more thing. Let me show you guys a button that I did for a game that I'll show you next week. It's a pause button, and I think now that I've showed you a bunch of these techniques, you can see kind of how I went about making this button. All right, well, so best part is you can use all these buttons in your game for free. In the description, there's a link to my itch, and here I have free to use in-game Pixel Pete's art assets. By the way, you should totally follow me. There'll be a button up here to follow me, so that way you're notified when I update these, and I'll try to update these as often as I make new videos. Thanks for watching. Can you guess the games I got up this week? If you like pixel art, follow me on Twitter. And I need to apologize because I said I'd show you guys something cool this week, but I decided to postpone it until next week. Love you, bye.